All right, Dan, we have a result in the first of two college football playoff semifinal games. It is your Notre Dame Fighting Irish 27, the
Mine?
Penn State Nittany Lions 24 in a nail-biter. Nail-biter, Mitch Jeter, game-winning field goal with only seconds left. Notre Dame finds a way to get the dub, Dan. You and I did a live stream throughout the course of this one over 3+ hours or so.
Yes.
We were in the moment, living, breathing, feeling some of these wild swings in this game. I must say it did end up being an exciting game despite the fact that it started off being much more of a rock fight. So at least we had an entertaining finish. I will also say from a personal perspective, I felt like breathing into a paper bag the way that thing ended.
Sure.
Really, on both sides, it was nerve-wracking. I was getting messages from both sides of the spectrum in my Notre Dame / Penn State universe.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we kick it over to you first for your impressions
Me?
of this game?
Why
yes. What is your get yours out of the way so that I can unload and download all of my thoughts?
We saw two game plans that seemed to be custom made for each other, that nobody were taking too many chances, and the team who was better able to pull off a conservative game plan and seemingly make fewer mistakes late. It was sort of an exercise in trestle ball from both of these teams, which makes sense from Marcus Freeman's perspective. Look, Penn State couldn't sustain. And when you don't have the myriad of ways on offense to win a game, which Penn State hasn't at times this year and just didn't when the going got tough against Notre Dame. The game is not fully on Drew Allar for a horrendous throw late. It is not fully on James Franklin. It is not fully on any one element beyond Penn State in the second half not being able to continue what it had been doing successfully in the first half, which is get after and swarm Riley Leonard, overwhelm a beat-up Notre Dame offensive line, down its left tackle for a majority of this game, make Notre Dame pay for not really being able to do anything on offense in the first half.
Yeah.
That they sort of let him off the hook, let him come back in this game. It's a field goal right before the half. It's 2 unanswered scores to start the second half. That Notre Dame was able to better adjust to the rhythm of this game after halftime than Penn State was. And if you are going to run an offense that, fact check me on this, completes 0 passes to wide receivers. I don't know if the final pass was to a receiver or not. You can
No,
check
final
on
pass
that.
was to Tyler Warren.
The final pass was Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
It's gonna get you, unless you're Army, right? Unless you're Navy, unless you're Air Force in a good year. You can't fully have a winning championship caliber team without any sort of downfield threat to speed. And not that Notre Dame truly did, but they got a key stumble and they got a key explosion play. And that, to me, was the difference.
Yeah.
That Penn State was able to steal a possession at the end of a game and go on a potential game-winning drive and had nothing in the way of a passing game to lean on down the field to efficiently move to score a game-winning touchdown or set up for a game-winning field goal.
Yep.
And to me, Notre Dame had just enough. It wasn't pretty, but they got the job done. And that's why we say things like winning is a skill.
Winning is a skill. I can speak to the text messages that I got from Penn State people that I know, and they're all sick.
Yeah.
They're all sick because, and rightfully so, because it felt like this one was there. This is a winnable game. And you're right, the way that they started this one went into halftime. Notre Dame felt lucky to get those 3 points at the end of the first half. It was at least some forward momentum, but really the entirety of the first half felt like it was all Penn State. They felt completely dominant, especially along the defensive line, where they were able to change the rhythm of the game. Abdul Carter played most of this one. He and Denai Dennis Sutton, DDS, as he's known, those guys were changing nearly every play they were in. And it was incumbent on Notre Dame and Mike Denbrock to figure out a way around that, which in the second half, I guess they got a little bit better with. But to have all of that momentum and then for Notre Dame to essentially steal it back with 3 consecutive scores, 1 at the end of the first half, and then, as you said, 2 consecutive to start things off in the second half, 1 in the third quarter, 1 in the fourth quarter before Penn State was able to start scoring points again. The way they were able to steal this one back, I think, is what Penn Staters will look back on and feel like there was real opportunity to put Notre Dame away, and they just couldn't get over the hump. The other thing that I'll add on the Penn State side, and I guess we should talk about Notre Dame since they won the game.
Yes.
Drew Allar was horrible in this game.
He was not
He was horrible
his best self, no.
in this game. He had one really nice layered throw to Tyler Warren,
Mm-hmm.
but otherwise there were 2 picks, 2 really bad picks,
Mm-hmm.
I would add, that were essentially bailed out because of flags on Notre Dame, be it defensive holding, defensive pass interference. The one that got him was the one at the very end where they're potentially marching down for, a game-winning drive.
Yeah.
And just makes a panic throw right into coverage. And that
throwing
was all
away
she wrote.
from his body into the middle of the field. Yeah.
He's a green quarterback. He's still learning. I am the Drew Allar apologist here on the show. I always find ways to kind of explain away some of the mistakes that he's made. I still think he had a really good postseason, but this was a really bad game for him. And he's already said his intention to come back. I'm assuming that's going to hold after this.
Yeah.
It was not a good game for Drew Allar. It just wasn't. The story, though, for me, outside of some of Penn State's shortcomings, has to be the way that Notre Dame got back in this thing. And the way that Notre Dame was able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Because if it felt like things were going Penn State's way in the first half, Notre Dame stole it all back and then some in the second half. They were able to take advantage of what we've known as the middle eight, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just from a momentum standpoint, it felt like they were able to stem the tide a little bit. They were able to get things going in a more positive direction. They come out after halftime. They definitely had a full head of steam. It seemed like they made some notable changes that enabled their offense to do a little bit more down the field. We did have that momentary scare in the first half where Riley Leonard went out. Steve Angeli came in at the end of the first half. Actually looked really good.
Pretty admirable job. Yeah.
He looked really good for that brief moment in time. Went 6 of 7, might have been the best quarterback we saw all game. That's probably a separate conversation altogether. We could talk about that before the start of the next season. But the way that Notre Dame came out after the second half, played solid defense, was able to get a little bit more going on offense, was able to put Jaden Greathouse in a position not just to make the big 54-yard touchdown catch where a guy stumbled and he just happened to be open, make one move and he's gone, but they kept finding ways to get him the ball. Mitchell Evans had a big day. He was targeted 9 times in this game, led all Notre Dame receivers in terms of targets. So Notre Dame did try to go a little bit more down the field than I think I was expecting. And
by the
they
way,
didn't do a whole lot of it.
Jaden Greathouse who caught that huge, I think it was a third down catch.
That's right.
For 10 yards.
That little like flutter pass from Riley Leonard. Absolutely.
Sprint out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was great play. By the way, should mention it was not. So Penn State gets the ball with 4 minutes and change, and then they get the ball with, I think it was about 50 seconds left in the game. That's at which point it was a 12, 13 yard run from Nick Singleton. And that was at which point they, or Drew Allar threw the interception of Christian Gray. Yes.
Christian Gray. Yeah.
Notre Dame did a great job, right? It's drafting off of the opportunity truck. It's hanging around just long enough, keeping your players locked in just long enough to be there when there is opportunity. And that's what Notre Dame did. I mean, I think in the second half, because it was obviously low scoring first half, it was 4 out of 5 drives that went for touchdowns, something like that in the game. And Notre Dame got going on the ground a little bit more. And they certainly more than Penn State, as Penn State was just trying to find anything with the rhythm on offense. And you're right. It was Riley Leonard doing just enough on 3rd and short, 2nd and short to pick up tough first downs. But at the same time, Penn State was getting off the field too. This wasn't like Riley Leonard dragging Notre Dame across the finish line for the entirety of the second half.
No, it wasn't. And Riley Leonard,
long, sustained, successful drives constantly.
Look, Riley Leonard had a couple key runs, as he is wont to do.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to confuse this for a stellar game for Riley Leonard either. Riley Leonard had 2 picks, 2 bad picks
abysmal
in his own right.
Yeah.
In his own right, this game, I mean, this was not a great game for him either. This was a matchup where we saw defenses step up, really on both sides. Notre Dame gets some key stops, big ones on third down.
Yeah.
We saw some big turnovers from both sides here. This was ultimately a game dictated by defense. As we said in the preview, it was one that hinged on a couple key plays. Something else I said in the preview. I hate to keep patting myself on the back about this. Can Penn State's receivers get open? I guess we know the answer. Penn State receivers had exactly 0 catches in this game. So without the ability to go downfield,
I mean, you can also take this opportunity to pat me on the back. This wouldn't be the worst chance to do so.
Listen, you've been saying it for a good long time too.
Yeah.
Right? Though Penn State looked, I thought, really good in their first 2 playoff games, this was definitely a horse of a different color in the semifinals against this Notre Dame defense. And the receivers weren't able to get open. It was fairly well telegraphed that it was either going to go to Nick Singleton or Tyler Warren in the passing game. They were able to have some success rushing the football. They rushed for over 200 yards as a team.
Yeah.
Nick Singleton had 3 touchdowns on the ground. So they rushed the ball, I thought, fairly well, but it was just the passing game that let them down. They had some key mistakes at the most inopportune moments. And Notre Dame, to your point, as it has proven, winning is a skill.
Yep.
Winning is a skill. They found a way to get the job done 27-24.
Where do you think the hesitation is with this Penn State offense? Do you think it's Andy Kotelnicki not trusting receivers and game planning around that? Do you think it's Drew Allar not trusting his own receivers or hesitant and not trusting himself to make plays downfield because he's just a little bit gun shy making those types of throws? I don't know, because he during some games this year, he made great throws downfield.
He did. I just don't think the receivers are all that excellent.
Sure.
And it's been an ongoing thing for Penn State. I think the receivers have gotten better, but this is still not a receiving core that you look at, and I think any top defense is really that scared of. You're scared of Tyler Warren because he's a bull, but I don't know if Trey Wallace, I don't know if even Amari Evans, who's their burner.
Right.
Amari Evans had no catches in this game. I mean, none of the receivers had catches, but Evans there were many instances where he wasn't even on the field in this game. Julian Fleming has been anonymous for most of the season. He was their big transfer. So Penn State definitely has a receiver question that needs to be solved. And that's sort of been the case all year. I think
they didn't even try though, Ty. They weren't targeted. There wasn't a single moment where Drew Allar was like, you know what? Let's take this chance to throw a 50-50 ball and let so-and-so receiver try and get under it or try to win a battle against whoever, Leonard Moore or Christian Gray or Xavier Watts or somebody in coverage.
Yeah.
Let's put it where they're not. It wasn't even attempted in any sort of meaningful way.
It wasn't. And that's, I think, rightfully going to be a question that a lot of Penn Staters are asking about this offense. They got to do something that, whether it's via the portal or otherwise, they have to find some way to get more pop at the receiver position because Tyler Warren's not going to be there next year. No? I don't know what the easy answer is, but for sure, that's definitely something on this offense that needs to be addressed. It's not something that needs to be addressed on the Notre Dame side as well. I do like their receiver talent. I don't know if Riley Leonard is quite the downfield passer. We saw some big throws from Riley Leonard in this game, but they were at least able to make more attempts than Penn State was to help keep Penn State on. Penn State had 5 sacks in this game.
Yeah.
Penn State was really good. Notre Dame is so dinged up along the line. Anthony Knapp, their left tackle, went out with an ankle injury early in this one. They had to bring Charles Jagusa back in. He's been out all year with a torn pec. He was normally supposed to be the left tackle. He was playing right guard. They put Tosh Baker in. I mean, it was really just a patchwork line as it was kind of at the start of the season. And there were some blown assignments. You could see that. So they definitely were struggling to some extent with this Penn State defensive front, but they were able to move the pocket a little bit. They were able to do some quick stuff to kind of get the ball out of Riley Leonard's hands, even put him on the move in the quarterback run game in the second half in a way that did end up being pretty impactful. It ultimately came down to just a few big plays. Like, this was there for both teams. This easily could have gone one way or another, even though it felt like the momentum swung in Notre Dame's favor in the second half. It still was there for Penn State. This was a hell of a game. We thought it was going to go to overtime. Thankfully, it didn't. I probably would have had a coronary, but big kick from Mitch Jeter to win it.
I can't believe that the arguable, maybe this isn't your opinion, the arguable difference in this game is explosive passing plays, Penn State 0, Notre Dame 1.
No.
One meaningful, significant downfield pass in this game. Maybe not the only pass out, but like one significant. It was a Penn State corner.
I mean, the two big plays in this game were the 54-yard touchdown to Jaden Greathouse, which was basically busted coverage because the guy fell down. And the second was that key interception with 50 some odd seconds left from Drew Allard that gave Notre Dame field position, put them in position to win the game on a field goal. Those are the two big plays that decided this one.
I can't believe Riley Leonard is a national championship berth quarterback. I can't. Can you name a quarterback who mostly used his legs and short conservative passing to go to the national championship game? It's been a minute. Is the last one Everett Golson? I don't even know. I think it felt like Everett Golson threw downfield more. He did.
Yeah, listen, it's not an offense that fits into any of the boxes we're used to. It does feel a little bit ad-libbed from down to down. And the downfield stuff just really isn't there. It really isn't there unless you get a blown coverage like you saw tonight.
But it's not even I'm trying to stop myself because I feel myself being critical of a team who just won an enormously successful game. I don't know how Notre Dame did this season.
I don't either.
With the incredible tight ends they've had. Like Mitchell Evans seems pretty good.
He's really good.
He's not like Cole Kmet, where he's not of that caliber, it seems. Michael Mayer, I don't know how. I mean, maybe it's the playoff, the way, Georgia with a backup quarterback, Penn State with awful mistakes. I don't know, man. I just tip my cap to Notre Dame. You got to beat the team who's in front of you, and they did so over and over and over again, beating Indiana, beating Georgia, beating Penn State. These are all quality teams. It all felt like significantly more difficult, especially when you consider the Penn State defense. I can't believe the Notre Dame offensive line was able to get through this game against this Penn State defensive line.
They are so dinged up, man. They are so dinged up.
They're going to need, I don't know what the actual injury is. I don't know if it's a knee, an ankle, whatever it is for the Notre Dame left tackle.
Knapp.
But, they're limping into this national championship game. And I don't know. I sound like apoplectic that Notre Dame is here. I'm impressed that they were able to drag themselves past this Penn State defense because it looked like the combination of Penn State running the ball. Kaytron Allen at time looked untackleable for Penn State, especially in that first half. And the defensive line looked so good in swarming Notre Dame in the backfield that Notre Dame scoring, 27-14 after going down 10-0, excuse me. That's a hell of a job keeping your composure and just getting first downs however you can and never even considering style points.
I will say on a final note,
please,
on a positive injury note, Jeremiah Love looked pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah.
He's definitely not 100%, but his touchdown run where he broke 5 tackles, pretty much planted off of the bad leg to drive himself into the end zone. He's good enough to be productive, and he's going to need to be productive against either Ohio State or Texas because it's going to definitely be the biggest challenge they faced all season, to say the least. They're going to need to find more offense. The defense is going to need to be the best it's been all year. We'll see how they fare in that game. Right now, the advanced point spreads would have Ohio State as about a 7.5-point favorite. Texas is about a 2.5-point favorite against Notre Dame. Obviously, that is subject to change. We got one game left to go here. We'll see who they play.
So we're getting Laura Quinn or the 18-wheeler rematch?
Possible, yeah.
I mean, It has to be. It's either Laura Quinn, Ohio State, Notre Dame, or we're getting the 18-wheel. It was a Tyrone Swoops rematch. That was right. That was Texas Notre Dame, right?
That's right. Yep.
I'm not making that up. Man. Okay.
Let us know what you think down in the comments. Your final score again, Notre Dame 27, Penn State 24. Notre Dame going to the ship. They await the winner of Ohio State, Texas. We will be back. We will be live throughout the course of the Ohio State-Texas game. Just come on back to the YouTube channel or any of our social platforms to find out more. We will probably also be live doing our big old semifinal recap in the immediate aftermath of that Ohio State game. So keep it right here. We'll do our best to keep you up to speed with what's going on. Again, your final 27-24. The Irish move on. Stay solid.
Peace.